and second client was Smalls the DJ. And then we grew to David, and then from there we've grown to now CK, Victoni, Bella Schmurda. We do some marketing for SARS. We currently have new young artists like Shine TTW, Easy Scope that we work with. And yeah, we've also, been part of so many artists' music career. We have a music distribution company where we've distributed music for so many artists. And yeah, that's where we are right now.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I want to get, why not? So I want to get onto the topic of outside, right? Nightlife, Detty December, etc. Because in my experience, I got into the entertainment industry in about 2015, 2016. Then I was working at BWL. We were doing campaigns like Budweiser, Adekunle Gold, Universal, etc. And then it was absolutely nothing like it is now. Yeah. Right now, we're literally seeing people from all over the country. I mean, homecoming has just wrapped up, where I was at the homecoming dinner last week, and I would say about 10% of the room was Nigerian. Everybody else was from outside the country, which is really exciting. All eyes are on Nigeria right now. But I think, I guess the kind of crux of this conversation is ownership and investment. How do we kind of from your point of view, how do we take that from okay, we're outside, we're having fun, there's events every December, blah, 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 to okay, we're actually owners of this culture? How do you think we can sort of make that shift?
Right. That's a great question, to be honest. I feel like for us to really own our thing is we need to actually... It's good now?
Good
now? Okay, yeah, so for us to really own our thing, I feel like we need to, look at it as proper business. We need to look at it as something serious. I feel like a lot of times most people do events and do things, just think that it's just fun and games. It's like even with music and the movies, back in the day, a lot of people never really took it serious. It was more of just a thing of, okay, I feel like we can just do this regardless.
Yeah, I don't think we need it.
I don't want to.
We should probably turn it off. Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people just started to take things seriously, and with the movies and the music, which needs to now just go beyond the movies and the music into other things, where the parties, the things, the concerts. A lot of concerts in Nigeria aren't really profitable.
Yeah.
Most of them make the money from the sponsors, not necessarily from the ticket sales.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a thing of where people now need to stop thinking of just the regular big concerts, but build it on small scale, because the world is moving to a place of community.
Yeah.
And if people start looking at things on building on smaller scale and stop deceiving ourselves on this side that it's on the big scale for music, we can get to a better place for the events as well too, for nightlife and clubbing and things like that. The reason I heard her say earlier about data, the reason why is because a lot of people, like I say, it's still a thing of it's just fun and game. Yeah. No one is really actually taking in to really figure out, look, how many people were at Boho last night? How many people were at SIP last night? What do we know? How do we know that on a Tuesday night we don't have the same amount of people who go clubbing on a Sunday as the people who go clubbing on a Saturday? No one's really taking those things into consideration.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times most people feel like this doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
But when we start to actually keep this data and understand the value of what we are trying to sell to the world and how well we're building it, it will help a lot of things for us. And for me, it's we saw Detty December, how it came. So many people came in. A lot of people were going around, but what are we doing to now build things in the sense where we're doing proper tours rather than just people coming to party, but also letting people know the culture of Nigeria. And those are the ways where we can own these things, by actually selling our stories right.
Yeah.
Beyond the movies, beyond the music, but when people visit the country, how are we selling our story to these people? You go to Ghana and you see people in Ghana not just partying, but learning more about the Gold Coast and the slave and everything. In Nigeria, it's really just party.
It's just parties and vibes.
So those things that need to be changed, where it's a thing where we have more proper touring companies in Nigeria, doing the tours around Nigeria, around Lagos, letting people see it's beyond just a party.
Yeah.
And we sell the narrative to people to see and understand our culture. It's beyond just the music and the film, but there's more to it. You know, a lot of people come to Nigeria, and when you tell them that we have over 250 tribes, they're like, wow, I never knew that. All I just knew about Nigeria was Afrobeats, party, and the movies. So those things are things that we need to sell it properly to the world so people see us more than just what it is.
I 100% agree. And I think one thing I would love to get into, I don't know if it's too early, but I personally am very, very passionate about money and funding, right? So like I said, I work with startups and SMEs, and most of our clients come from either the tech side of things, so like the fintechs, the logistics, the e-commerce, the payments apps, and then we have the creative, the fashion houses, the music labels, etc. And a lot of my job involves talking to investors, talking to VCs, talking to financiers, and I'm always talking to my team about how I can take any tech startup to any VC. I can take 10 fintechs of the same strategy, same seamless payments, faster payments, and VCs will fund it. But if I show them like a music label that's actually doing some decent turnover, they want nothing to do with it. Fashion houses, they want nothing to do with it. And I ask them why, and they say, there's a business or creativity problem. Creatives don't know how to make money. They don't know how to monetize. They don't know how to pitch. They don't know how to sell. First thing I would like to ask is, do you agree?
I 100% don't agree, but and I'll tell you why. A lot of things, we saw what happened with Maven and Universal recently. I feel like the reason why a lot of VCs and Ps are scared to put their money in creatives is because a lot of these creatives don't have the professional side to things. It's like it took us 3 years into our business for us to do proper accounting, to do proper auditing of our business, to understand what difference between our profit and our loss, in the business. A lot of times, most people set up the business. You see so many people, record labels in Nigeria, running their label from the CEO's personal accounts. And then you obviously, yes, you might make money because the artist is doing shows and it's big here and there. But when you go to investors to speak to them, and then you say, "Oh, show us," and you're presenting things you've done through your personal bank accounts and just things you've scribbled down on Excel, it doesn't really look good. Even fashion houses as well too. Like most times you see a lot of them, like you deal with them and you try to, okay, I want to patronize you and order stuff from you guys, and you see the owner of the label or fashion line sending you the personal account. Those things are things that these people get scared about because it's like, look, we're helping people put their money to good use, and we don't want to put people's money into fire to burn. We want to put our money where we see that people are doing things the right way. Even Maven, when they got their first money from Kupanda Capital, the Kupanda guys had to help them, tidy their books, do proper auditing to understand, like, okay, look, this is what you need to do. This is you need to hire right. You don't just hire people because they're your friends. What do you guys have proper, like, HR helping you guys hire people? Do you guys do what's it called? Help the people you're hiring to really understand what they're doing. How do you help them scale in the business? How do they grow in positions of where they're working in business? Those are things that people look at, and that's why when you say with fintechs and all those things, a fintech company or all these things, they come out right, they come out prepared, they know what they're doing there. Even before they even start the company, they're able to do projections of where they'll go because of the data and the research they've done.
Unit economics,
with music and fashion and things like that, there's not that much data because a lot of times you hear of a label of, okay, the artist stopped blowing up and the label is done, there's no more money coming in. So those are the things that scare people. But when they see you, I know a lot of labels that have gotten funding from people because they've seen that these people actually know what they're doing. They have their books in order. And look, we know that if we put our money in, even if it's running at a loss now, we are able to support them to grow and scale to a bigger level. So for me, most times, I feel like it's not necessarily because they don't think they're profitable, but it's just because they don't take them serious. They feel like a lot of these people are just doing this thing because it's fun to them, not necessarily seeing it as a proper business.
So another thing is, even on that matter, like an investor has told me that in the same way a fintech can like 100x their money, say someone that does events, right? So say like a Spectrum that does Element House might not necessarily be able to, like, they're still extremely profitable, but they might not necessarily be able to do it in the same way. So Could it be that maybe we need to introduce like alternative financing options for the creative industry? Say like loans and all of that
I
stuff.
don't necessarily think alternative. I mean, it's just like it's. I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with the guys at Warner Music and Sony, and they keep complaining now how they're not making profits in Nigeria because they feel like the Nigerian royalty rates are really low from streaming, and that's really where their money comes from. And I said to them, why do you think Maven is profitable? Because Maven isn't focusing on just the streams the artists make from Nigeria. Maven have found.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Are you
Last time. Maven have found a solution to it where it's like all the artists they have with them are on 360 deals where they're making money from the music, from the live, from the merchandising, touring management as well. That's the only way you can really be profitable as a label on this side of the world. It's not like the US where it's like they have high royalty rates where, if you sign artists, you're making your money back from just them streaming music. That's why even with a lot of our big artists in Nigeria, when they sign with these big labels, they don't really care about the streaming money they're making because they're doing shows. They leave the streaming money to the label and they're like, yeah, don't worry, you guys sign me for XYZ, you guys can keep that money. We use all the money for marketing. I know that my music is getting to the world and I can make so much money from touring or even from my merchandise or from brand deals. And that's why that's the angle these guys need to go in when they're coming into the country and signing younger acts. They need to look at it bigger than just them getting money from the streams. You always have to look for ways to monetize in the market you're in. For example, if a Live Nation were to come to Nigeria and set up a venue, they have to look for alternative ways to make money from the venue. Eco Hotel, church, conferences, weddings, birthdays, concerts, comedy shows. You can't just come and set up a venue in Nigeria and think it's only music and you're going to make your money. It's not going to work. I know when these guys set up Clubhouse, they set it up for something fun, but obviously they have to do other things to be able to make money. Because Nigeria, in general, Africa in general, is not that market where it's like maybe in South Africa, but for Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and Tanzania, those markets, you have to try and adapt to the market and understand that this is what works in this market. I'm not going to set up something and expect that this is the only thing no, it takes a while. We have to build. And people really forget that we're still an emerging market. No matter how big Afrobeats or Nollywood has gone to, we're still an emerging market. And we're still growing. And we can always get better, but it takes the people as well to get it better, to understand what they're doing and how to do it right.
100%. I feel like that deserved a round of applause. That was a really strong answer. So just on the topic of, I'm digressing a tiny bit because I think the thing you mentioned about understanding your market is really important. It's been about 2 years, so I can talk about it now. About a year and a half ago, late 2023, I'm sure you guys know Afro Nation came to Nigeria. So we were responsible for kind of like doing their PR, their marketing, all of that stuff. And it was really exciting for us because I don't know if you guys know, but Afro Nation is actually Nigerian owned, and that would have been their first time in Nigeria. A lot of people thought that, they pulled out because TBS wouldn't work, because all of that stuff. And people were quite pessimistic about that, which I think was quite sad because, they were coming in actually trying to create almost like an MSG for Nigeria. And we're all like, yeah, no, absolutely not. But really, there were two reasons why it didn't work. Firstly was because of funding. And secondly was because of lack of market research. I want to talk a bit about the second one. So essentially, they had come into Nigeria thinking they knew the market inside out, right? They had done their Google research. They hadn't paid their local partners to actually, delve into the market. And they made a very, very crucial mistake, and I won't mention any names. So essentially, what they had done was they had paid a very popular artist, a very large, I'm sure you know the story, a very, very large amount of money, thinking that once they drop this artist's name, this thing is going to move tickets. But if they had done their research, they'd probably know that earlier on that year, that artist said they're never performing in Nigeria again. And Nigerians were beefing that artist. So it took a little bit more than, okay, we think this artist is very popular and it's going to move tickets, than, what they actually did. And it was very embarrassing for us. I can't lie. Like, it was a global embarrassment. And we really absolutely, we really absolutely have to ensure that, things like that don't happen again. So from the funding and from the research perspective, how would you sort of say our economy can go about ensuring that that never ever happens again?
So you see, the thing about the Afro Nation situation is like a lot of times as well too. It's like it's beyond the funding and all these things as well too. It's like when they were reading comments of what people put online, a lot of times people in Nigeria, we really don't appreciate what we have. And it's like a lot of times people complain, government this, government that, but we actually don't love our country as much as we think we do.
Facts.
No, I'm being very honest because it's like when they said TBS, a lot of people.
No, like, no, it's not gonna work.
I can never go to TBS. Like those things piss me off when I see it. Like today, I was having a conversation with somebody. There's a big DJ that's worked with one of the artists that I work with, and the DJ says, "I want us to shoot your video in Nigeria," and showed us a video of what he wanted. And artist was like, God forbid, I can never shoot in Nigeria. I'm doing song with this global DJ, I'm now shooting in Nigeria. The guy is going to put the video everywhere. They will now be looking at Nigeria. I'm like,
that is so bad.
I'm like, why do you think so much of your country, so little of your country? This is where you're from. But because you traveled and you've seen other American artists, you're like, no, let them not see where I'm from. Like, a lot of them come to Nigeria and they're so excited to shoot music videos and show people. So why do we always bash our country? Mm-hmm. It's really, really annoying when we constantly bash our country. You know, you see a movie, boom, first thing you do, bash. Like, I mean, you can criticize the movie in a good way.
Yeah.
Not just bash every time. Because a lot of times we need to think about these things that this is our country. We can't, you see people go to America or England, anywhere, and they start talking negative about Nigeria. It's like, it looks cool to you, but you look foolish. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's like, everyone was excited Afro Nation was coming to Nigeria. Nigerian own festival, coming to Nigeria for the first time. You know, they're doing it in TBS. Where else would they have done it? Echo Hotel.
I swear.
Like, come on, man.
Someone suggested Echo Atlantic.
Yeah, like, Echo Atlantic wouldn't have made sense for that. Like, you know, like, we need to actually appreciate things that we have. And I mean, Davido did his show in TBS. It was fantastic. Nothing happened. They do experience every year in TBS. Nothing happens. You know, there's a conference as well. The largest investor conference, GITEX. They were going to bring it to Nigeria. They announced TBS, and people were like, "Are they mad? Why would they do TBS?"
Yeah, they took it tomorrow.
They're bringing it. Still come to Nigeria, but it's going to be in a cool hotel. But it's like when I went to the one in Dubai, massive tents, different. You know, now they're going to take it to a cool hotel. It's going to be so small. A lot of people are not going to come here. But it's like we need to stop selling our country in a bad way just because we don't like it. We think it's cute. We think it's banter online. Now, for me, it's like those things really affect a lot. Yeah. The Afro Nation as well, part of things that also affected them was the buying power of the people. You know, it's like the tickets were a little too high for people. But also, I don't think it was a little too high because like they were complaining it was expensive, and they even had the
payment plan. VIP, that's why.
Yeah, everybody wants to be VIP in Nigeria. Nobody wants to be regular.
So we want to. One of the topics that came up in the sheet was about talent discovery and about how nightlife kind of like enhances talent discovery. But I want to like tweak that a tiny bit because we're talking about ownership here. I want to talk about the power of TikTok in discovery and in ownership and in all of that stuff. And a case study I want to use that I've been speaking to, she actually should be here. Foza here? No, she's not. But I've been speaking to Foza about a lot is Skills. I don't know if you've been seeing online. His song has been blowing like crazy. Like Shake Body came out like almost a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And, you know, obviously Nigerians are using this owners like, when is your time? It's your time. But it's really like, if you have social media, it's actually your time. And there's really been this question going on and off about like, okay, thanks to TikTok, like, should artists really be getting signed? Like, do we really need labels? Like, now that we have TikTok, do we really need A&Rs? I know I'm asking an A&R this, so it's crazy, but do we really need A&Rs now that we have TikTok? I'd love for you to delve into that.
To be honest, we still need A&Rs. Like, artists need to get development. Like, it's not just about your song growing on TikTok. That's why you see a lot of artists, when they come out, one big song, they can't perform, they can't communicate with their crowd, they go to interviews and they're saying rubbish because A&R's job is to properly develop the artist to help you be a better person. Yeah. Not just with the talent, but in general, everything you do, you know, how you approach things and how you approach it. So it's like, for me, we still definitely need A&Rs. With TikTok helps maybe to help the song grow faster.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the only thing. And we still definitely do need labels because if your song blows on TikTok, who's going to sign you? Who's going to help you market the music? It's like people forget, people think it's just about the song blowing. You still need to do extra marketing for the music.
Yeah.
You need to push it in different territories. Your song might be doing well online, but how are you getting on radio in this country? How are you getting on radio? How are you getting to the DJs? So for me, the labels, A&Rs can never go extinct.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing that can change is maybe now the labels and A&Rs are able to use the data to now identify what might be a hit.
Right.
Not what will be, but what might be a hit.
What kind of data?
Well, I mean, from the sounds, what people listen to,
Yeah.
where people are listening to, the age category of people who listen to music. So you're able to make that type of music more. So right now we've seen Afro House doing its thing from the last 6 months.
Yeah.
A lot of people are now tilting more to doing Afro House records.
Yeah.
We see the craze in Nigeria now. There's so many Afro House or EDM events springing up in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So it's like there's small data to show these things, and like if you really just apply it a little bit.
Yeah, shout out to my ravers. Sorry, an Afro House person. Yes. Okay, I guess on to the question about nightlife. Personally, I don't really know to what extent like nightlife helps with talent discovery, because when I go out, like unless I'm at an Afro House party, like they want to kill us with payola, like we're hearing the same songs over and 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 over again. So I don't know what you think about that. Do you feel like nightlife currently helps with talent discovery? Do you think it's pushing it, or do you think it's kind of like taking us away?
Well, to be honest, I feel like nightlife is dead. I actually don't go out anymore. Like, I don't. You catch me in a rave, but not in the club.
You guys come to raves, clubs are so
clubs. There's no one dancing in the clubs anymore. It's everyone doing a bottle show.
Yeah.
There's no bars. People like me that don't drink alcohol. There's no way for us to even drink soda water. Soda water. They don't let you buy cranberry juice. You must buy table. They bounced me from the club. I was like,
that's crazy.
I was surprised in Lagos. They said no because I'm not buying the bottle. I can't stay on the table. I was like, that's crazy. Like clubbing has come to a point where you have to get a table. You have to spend X amount of money to get a table. It doesn't really make sense anymore. People are, like you said, it's payola.
Yeah.
You'll be in the club, there's 4 DJs, and the 4 DJs are going to play the 4 same songs all night. So back in the day, yes, people used to go to the club to discover new music because the DJs would play new music. But now, DJs are scared to play new music because they feel like people would not dance, and they feel like the club will now come and change it for them and be like, yo, nobody wants to hear this shit. Excuse me, nobody wants to hear this music. Play something else.
There's also this idea that artists have DJs on payroll.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to, because if you want people to hear your song a lot, you have to constantly, put money in their pocket.
That's crazy. So yeah, I think that's sort of, I don't know, are we allowed questions?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so let me pass the microphone.
We have room for about 3 questions, and I already seen 3 hands, so we have to take us.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So my question is a hypothetical. So say you were to develop an MSG style event center in Lagos, how would you pitch it to investors? What would you tell them the draw apart from, you mentioned it's not just the music concerts, what other things would you tell them would be possible in that kind of environment?
Amazing. I feel like it's happening soon. The Lagos Arena, they're partnering with BL, NBA Africa. They're going to be playing basketball games there. Hopefully, it's going to be a regular thing. People are going to come in regularly to buy that. And after that, they'll do music concerts. I'm sure they'll do 1 or 2 conferences in there. I pray they never do weddings there.
They will. They will definitely do weddings.
One big man should not come and offer them plenty money to do wedding there. But seriously, those are the things that we need to, it's even like when, obviously, when we're currently pitching to some investors to build a studio in Nigeria, I'm just letting them know that beyond just going to be movies that we're going to be shooting there, but there will be so many things that we're going to be doing a rave XYZ in the studio so that it's able to generate money because it's not every time they're going to be shooting movie or music video. So yeah, like we see what they've done with places like Ultima Studio and the other studio in Legacy, where it's like if they're not shooting music videos, it's a rave happening there or something. So yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. My question is both of you. Anyone can answer. So I'm an independent artist. I started music officially 2023 after being in the industry for a long time.
Welcome.
And one of the challenges have been funding. Now, I'm not a mainstream Afrobeat artist. I do conscious music.
Oh,
I have to
nice.
build with community.
Okay.
And so I had a management that were like, you have to do stuff that is mainstream if you want to know, And
That's bad
I
advice.
struggled with that because I needed money to keep producing music because production is not cheap, right? So I hear you when you say, okay, we need to structure our business in such a way that is attractive. But I'm an artist with no management. And I hear you when you say 360 days is how this economy does make money. And I'm like, okay, is that profitable for the artist long term? In such a way because I need funding for stuff. I started a community stuff that is for people that love my music and we meet as much as the funding comes. So it's community funded, but it's not sustainable because events is not run by out of pocket.
Right.
So how do you navigate an artist that's independent, not mainstream, and trying to build alternatively but have a funding problem?
I have some answers for you. I have some answers. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So I hear you. I have personally artists have shown me shaggy. Right. Because I think generally no, it's okay. I get it because I feel like generally it's actually not your fault because I get it because like when you're creating from your heart and then having to commodify that, it's like this is coming straight from the heart. Like why should I have to put a price on it? Like I totally understand. But the first thing I would always tell an artist is like, without sounding mean, like get a job so you can actually fund what you're doing because streaming is not going to pay. You can't really sell anything if you don't have community. So you're already thinking along the right lines. You want to start looking at platforms like Even Biz. So what Even Biz does is that it literally allows your community crowdfund your projects. So rather than dropping your project on Spotify and earning about how much does Spotify pay per stream, something like 50 naira, I don't know, something ridiculous like that. What Even Biz does is it helps you say, okay, cool, like if these are my people and these are truly my people, you guys can pay 20K each, 30K each, 15K each for my project. So if you have about 30 people paying you 30K each, and those 30 people are your riders, you've made roughly about 600K just from that one project. It also allows you paying crypto and all of that stuff. What I'm really trying to say is try and prioritize community, try and find something outside. What do you say?
It's the future.
100%. Not being biased, but I run a community myself. So there's so many artists like you in there. I don't know if Esther's got my community manager. I don't know, but I'll add you to it afterwards.
Just connect, bro.
Yeah, and also like network across. That's one thing that I did I'm not an artist, but like I started out like as a creative before becoming an entrepreneur. And like I networked my ass across. Like instead of trying to like see all the people like higher up, like I try to see like, okay, who here is like a creative director, who here is a vlogger that needs music for their YouTube, like who needs music, royalty free music for your campaign, all of that stuff. That's actually how you build a community of cheerleaders. And before you know it, money will start coming in because once you put value in them, they're going to put value back in you. So don't stress too much about like trying to blow or like trying to get those streaming numbers. That will come eventually. Try and see what you can do with the people on your level and try and scale with them. That's the advice I'd give any artist personally. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, you said it all, to be honest. Like, she said everything I was going to say. Just find people on your level, build with them, and you guys will grow together.
Yeah.
And, network, to be honest. One thing I've built myself on is network.
Yeah.
Like, my network is large. It's not, I'm not even trying to brag, but I've built it over the years. There's nobody I can't reach in this world.
Yep, same.
Like, I've just built it over time, and that's just because
I mean,
like yeah. So
it is what it is.
it is what it
It
is.
is what it is. Yeah. And come and find me after. We'll talk.
I'm actually not in the creative
You don't have to be.
industry. I'm actually here because I'm very interested. I'm just learning a few things. So I know you said 3 questions.
No, three people.
So she said,
Three people.
all right, very good. So my questions are kind of just picked off the things that you both said. And the first one that you said was something about data. There being no data to track nightlife. And I'm wondering, see, when you go outside Nigeria, they have health and safety standards. So you know when your club is at capacity. You can then say, on this day, we know we had 300, 400. When you go to clubs in Nigeria, nobody's...
It didn't they?
Right.
So I hear you when you say that we don't have data. Well, I think the problem is we don't actually have a system to record anything. Like, we can ask them for that data and they'll say, oh, it's just that we've not looked at it in a while. How are they recording? There's nothing that is holding them accountable for such a thing. Is what I'm saying. And there's also nothing adjacent to the data that they can use to extrapolate and say maybe this. But we don't have that kind of system. So I'm just putting that out there to say if it's not only focused on the creative industry, it's also focused on other parts of like policy reform that can help us with data. That's one thing I noticed. And then another thing is I find that in Nigeria, particularly within the creative industry and outside of it, we put pressure on ourselves. So like you said, the young man that wanted to do the video and was like, oh, I don't want to do it in Nigeria and this and this and this. We leave the country, we see things outside, we come back and we want to do it here. We keep saying 21st century Lagos, but we don't have the infrastructure. We don't know the process. Like if you look at the West, they started from coal, then they did this, then they did that. We start from where we are and then we want to jump to where they are. That's why we always fall. That's why whatever growth we have is not sustainable, because there's no infrastructure. So this brings me to my second to last point.
You know, girl.
I said, like,
So you know what one point has done for financial inclusion in Nigeria is it tailored the solution to the people. When we're talking about agencies and the things they want to do to have their impact on musicians and all these people in Nigeria, I'm just wondering, fintech wise, have we approached those problems and tailored it to our own market? So I'm
trying to understand that question.
What Universal Music is doing, what Warner is doing. Have we thought of solutions that would cater to our own people the same way Money Point has done for financial inclusion for that market?
that's exactly what the local
That's what I was saying.
doing. Yeah.
That's why I was saying that. I was saying that I spoke to those guys to copy what we are doing. The labels here are doing the Money Point model.
100%.
So the labels are not trying to do what the international people are doing. The international people are coming here to try and force us to do what works there.
And they're feeling
And they're failing.
So then that brings me to another question. Why is it that the agencies or agents, like I said, I don't know, I'm asking.
It's okay.
Agencies or agents?
What are you talking about?
What
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Depends on the sector.
Yeah.
So why is it that they're not growing at the same scale? Is it a funding issue?
Well, like the labels here are not growing.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
they
they're
are.
not growing in the sense, every time I see an artist that gets signed by some international label, there's so much noise about it. There's so much, oh, he got signed by Universal, he got this, he got that. I don't see the same fuss when it's homegrown.
It's not sexy. It's the same way the man doesn't want to shoot video in Nigeria. It's not sexy to him to say, I got signed by Just Yes Records. It sounds cooler to say, I got signed by Def Jam. I got signed by Universal. I got signed by... But you think it would be nice to say, I got signed by Yabola Records. No. It's
I
not
know,
cute
it's
for
a
them. So that's the problem. That's the only reason why. A lot of them, they are with their labels and they're growing and growing. But they won't say much till when the internationals
Labels
come
actually,
and they're like, oh, yes, I'm going to Sony.
Yeah.
So have you tried or have they tried to actually document something? So let me tell you what I mean. what I'm trying to say is, it's nice to have the impact, but do they make noise about the impact? Because if they're not making the case for what it is they're doing, that will keep happening.
Sorry, I want to.
So I believe they are. Sony and Maven, Chocolate City, they're making so much noise.
YBNL. Like,
YBNL.
what?
They're making so much noise. So it's
Their
like,
impact.
yes, they are. So it's like, so the real thing about it is that there's record labels and there's music imprints. The imprints are the smaller ones. They don't have the force of the label. Let her go, let her go, let her go. Last one, let her go. Don't worry. Just last one. So, but yeah, the imprints don't have the power of the label. A label has marketing, publishing, A&R, licensing, XYZ. Imprint is just, I set up a label in my house, pick 4 or 5 of my guys, we sign artists, and we work in the studio. If it works, we push it out. It doesn't work, you know. So the imprints are really the ones who need to, try and find a way. Same way where Jonesin, that's owned by the Prince, who's Don Jazzy's brother, is an imprint, and he knew he couldn't do it on his own, so he partnered with Maven, who's a bigger label, to help him. There's other artists he had, Ruga. He partnered with Sony. He signed some more artists. He partnered with Virgin to be able to do it for him because those are bigger labels. So yeah.
And then the
So then,
infrastructure.
my last question is this:
Okay.
top 100 Nigeria playlists, Apple Music. Do you think those things are messing with the Nigerian music industry?
100%.
Like, and I also think it's messing with nightlife. Actually,
Yeah,
that's why the DJs
it's messing with everything. It's messing with nightlife, messing with radio, messing with the Nigerian mind. Because a lot of people think that is success.
Yeah.
A lot of people, CK, when CK had Love Wanting Thing, that was one of the biggest records in the world. It never got to top 100 Niger.
That's crazy.
And he was doing his thing successfully. So it's like, for me, it's like, the thing messes with everyone's mind. Now everyone's doing something called stream farming just to get their music on 100 Niger, just to say I'm there. And it's like, everybody now thinks that if I don't get 100 Niger, my life is ruined. I'm not doing it well. But a lot of times, they're doing amazingly well. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and like, if I, as Bizzle, have 500,000 streams from the UK and US, I'm better than Shegun in Nigeria, who has 20 million streams from Nigeria and Ghana. But because Shegun has 20 million streams, he looks cooler. And more shows are going to book him because his song is bigger in Nigeria. And that is what is killing a lot of artists. Now, because they get depressed and like, yeah, this guy is doing better than him. But you're making more money than him. They know you in London. You can go to London. You can comfortably do a 150, 200 capacity show in London and sell it out. The guy that has 200 will go to London and they'll probably book him to come to a club to do Mike PA because of that one song he has. And you can go to London, comfortably do your EP. And you come back, maybe they pay you 10,000. It might not be a lot, but it cannot be no.
And then to the thing you mentioned about infrastructure, I think, honestly, I hate to sound so pessimistic, but it's really up to the government, right? There's only so much we can. There's only so much we can do. The industry has gotten to where it is without any government interference, without any infrastructure. It's really been on the backs of private individuals, private companies, and people that are really damn talented. Literally, people that are hungry as hell. And right now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the ministry has noticed that these guys are making money without us. We have to invest, right? So I think it's about putting pressure. Try and, because people always say, oh, the government is doing stuff and no one is listening. So try and actually look at what they're doing. And they're not doing a good enough job, like call them out online. Like we let them get away with so much. Our industry is worth so much. So if we want to see infrastructure, there are people out there you can speak to.
I mean, people in the industry are constantly, quitting real life jobs to build dreams.
Actually make this
shout out to my guy here. Quit Google to Obele.
That's crazy.
He's building an amazing company, and he's been building it while he was at Google. So now he quit to focus on it full time. Issa and I have been building the plug for 9 years, self-funded.
100%.
self-funded from pocket, no loan, no investment, nothing. It's just our dream, and we've been building this and to see how well we want to get it. So for me, it's a thing of where, like you said, we need to get the government people to support us more. But it's like a lot of these things in the music industry, entertainment, even film-wise. I mean, shout out to my sister here. Say like, smart money woman. Like it's like we're doing these things like from our own pockets. I'm just like praying that
Praying it works.
it works, and eventually pay off for everyone, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you so
I
much.
think that's a very beautiful way to end this conversation, that it will pay off. It will pay off
Amen.
eventually. All right, please, can we give you another round of applause for Bizzle and Shay? That was a very